So Spencer, what is your plan 10 years out? 10 years from now, how old are you going to be?
10 years from now, I'll be 35.
10 years from now, you'll be 35. Where do you imagine yourself personally?
Um, like location wise, or mentally, physically, or job wise, career.
Personally, so mentally, physically, spiritually.
So spiritually, probably I would probably be meditating every day, going to church on Sundays. Supporting the community if needing help. Physically, hit the gym 5 times a day, or 5 times a week. Um, Personally, uh, probably not a family quite yet. Um, I want to make sure I have a successful business before getting into a relationship like that. I want to find myself.
So 10 years from now, when I ask the question, where do you want to be 10 years from now? It's not supposed to be where you realistically want to be.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's not supposed to be what people have told you that you can accomplish. Where it's not supposed to be. No one else's opinion needs to enter your frame of mind. It needs to be something that excites you. That you're like, if I really push hard, I might be able to get this thing. And it needs to be just outside of the range of what you believe you can accomplish, so it pushes you past, so that it gives you a firm vision, a picture of yourself. So I'll ask the questions again. So in
Okay.
10 years, there's three major things that I want you to think about: personal, professional, and financial. Okay? It's hard when people first go through this exercise to separate personal from professional and professional from financial and financial from personal. But it's about putting things in the right boxes, and it's about being wise about creating that picture.
Right.
So, Spence, where do you expect to be in 10 years? Where would you love and be excited to be in 10 years personally?
10 years, I would love to own 2 homes and probably live in South Florida and have the second home in Maryland. And professionally, I would probably have about 2 plaques on YouTube. So hopefully my marketing is pretty strong, so I wouldn't have to work in 9 to 5. I can be 24, content creator. And financially, or did I say financially?
Mm-hmm. No, financially you're still on.
So financially, I would definitely say making over six figures over without working a 9 to 5.
Okay.
Financially, probably, like I said, owning more than 2 vehicles and owning more equipment, investing into myself, and hopefully have my own business running by then. So then when keeping everything in the same pile as we've been trying to grow right now, and hopefully we just extend my goals, my 10-year goals, hit those. So if I can hit those, then I'll be pretty set.
Yeah. So now let's break this down, right? So you said personally you would like to own 2 houses, you'd like to have some cars. I want you to think a little bit more about how you'll ideally want to feel when you wake up in the morning. Like what is the greatest feeling that you could aspire for when you wake up in the morning?
Seeing the sunrise.
Okay, but how does that feel to you?
Like I made another day. Made it another day.
Yeah. And what about the energy with which you wake up with? What type of energy do you want that to be?
It's time to work. It's time to get productive. So I'm always finding things to, all right, what's next? What's the next move? We made it into this next day. What's next? So I try to find that guidance and I search for it.
And now I want you to imagine, say you're sitting on a plane, right, to go to a gig or to go and meet some people for a contract or networking. Who do you want to have around you? What types of personalities do you want to have around you?
Enhance. probably more enhanced than I am. More prepared people. Leadership. Preparation. So I can think of just more studious people, I guess, if I can put it in that perspective.
Like students of life.
No, like studious, like very smart people, like really just enhanced people.
Yeah. People that are kind of out of the people pile.
Right.
That have escaped the norms of society.
Right. Exactly.
And have
Already made.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Or
it's
are
like-
in the process of making it to wherever their dreams and their goals are. Okay. You see now that by asking those questions, right? There's a more. We as human beings don't get inspired by objects and by money. We get inspired by how we feel,
Right.
our emotions, our emotional investment into something. Okay. So you'll wake up happy, excited about the day. How will you go to sleep? What is the feeling that you'll get when ideally in 10 years, every single time you fall asleep?
If I accomplished what I wanted to get done that day.
How will that feel though?
Accomplished.
Okay.
Accomplished to feel.
Let me challenge you on that.
Okay.
So there's in the process of getting to that goal in 10 years, you will eventually establish a routine. And to some degree that routine will be taken for granted because you'll have to have it. And so I'll challenge you on how you'll feel at night. I would put the word in your brain satisfied.
Okay.
A satisfaction with who you are as a human being. All around. Okay. Now let's go to professional. Right? So that's personal stuff. That's like how you feel on day to day. Professionally, what type of position would you want to occupy in the company that you're building or in the company that you will create?
So position, probably, I guess CEO, maybe be a CFO for someone else's company.
Chief Financial Officer.
Yes.
Interesting.
Maybe be maybe just so much where you're able to, I want to, be all these things, but there's only a certain amount you can do in a day-to-day base. So me trying to figure out what I can do and what comes to myself first, as in what life will bring when I'm ready. Whatever I develop, whenever it's ready, it'll bring it to me. So any position that comes my way, as long as I make it to the top of the pyramid, before I pass, that's the end of the goal, All of our goal is to be at the top of the pyramid. So finding that, that guidance to get any of those positions, they all just become experiences. So once you get to the, CEO or CFO, or it's just how many you can grab at the end of the day. For the CEOs out there, you're just grabbing, more investments. What else is out there? They've already made that position. I would like to hit that position, but I guess because I've been created into a small-minded person, I've yet to emphasize on me getting to that point anyway. So me as a small-minded person, where I think as a manager is, top prize, or now realizing it with the people that I've evolved with to this day, have showed me that there's more out there. So with the positions, to answer your question, CEO, CFO, the top of the pyramid.
Okay. What type of person and what type of skills do you need to establish over the next 10 years in order to make it very likely that you will land in those positions?
That's what I'm searching for.
Well, what's your intuition tell you?
Find the best and do the best.
better than anyone else.
Right.
So there's something that Dan Martell talks about a lot in terms of delegation, and he says that if someone can do something 80% as good as you are, you're probably in the green. And that's the type of philosophy, unfortunately, that needs to be established when we're finding people to replace things that we're doing. Because having the philosophy that you're gonna find another you is not healthy. Because then we impose what we are onto other people. We need to have that 20% actually allows us to give them the freedom to be themselves and exist inside of the organization in the way that they seem fit. So there's a discrepancy there. You see that?
Right.
Not being able to answer that question, right? You have this vision of yourself that wants to be at the CEO, CFO position, but you don't necessarily know the steps that it's going to take for your personal or professional development that will be required to get there. That's the power of this exercise, because finding a discrepancy, finding that delta and where we are and where we need to be, that's what gives us that sense of urgency for picking up those skills or the information to even be able to define those skills.
Where do you find that?
Yeah, if you guys, I mean, Spence is part of the Turabify Network, so if you guys want to have these conversations and want to talk through this type of stuff, you know, come on down, subscribe to the Turabify Network, and in 15 minutes I can start getting you to think about the right things and get you the right resources to get there. So, in general, you're asking, where do I get the information to even be able to know what to do these things? So my greatest piece of advice is go on your social media, go on Instagram, and follow the leaders that are giving you consistently this advice. They will have quotes, they will have videos, they will have webinars, free webinars, they will have courses that you can go and get in order to learn about the philosophies. But there's the only way in order to become a CEO is to model a CEO that you respect. You can beat around the bush a lot and try to figure it out yourself, but the greatest artists on the planet steal things for a reason. Monkey see, monkey do. You need to be able to get that person that you want to see. That would be my biggest advice in terms of that. Like you got to get role models that are just like in the back of your head all of the time, and that way you'll passively constantly be thinking about those skills. Grant Cardone, great. Alex Hermosi, Dan Martell, any like male leaders, Patrick Bet-Davis, you know, people that are in those positions that have, you know, we haven't talked about the financial yet, right? You said that you wanted to make 6+ figures. I'm actually going to challenge you on that, and I'm going to tell you to pick a number. Now, when we have an exact number, then things become serious. Okay, so that's professional, right? What about networking and your network in general? How large would you want your network to be in life?
Worldwide.
You want an international
I
network.
want a statue of me.
You want a statue of you. How big of a statue do you want?
Something where people will be like, wow, that's nice.
No, like a life-size model or larger?
No, human size.
Human size model. Okay.
Like Ray Rice.
What would it be made out of?
Bronze.
Bronze.
Yeah.
You want a bronze statue of you? Okay, cool. See what I'm saying? So when you have that picture in your head, you're like, wait a second, that's interesting. You know, it gets a little bit of excitement in it. And so okay, so now let's go with financial. Let me challenge you on that. You said you want to be able to make 6+ figures a year. What if I gave you $100 and a cent? Would that function? Or $100,000 and a cent? Does that reach your goal?
No.
Okay, now let's pick a number.
Okay.
How much do you want to make a year?
Revenue or profit?
Profit that enters your bank
Okay.
account.
In 10 years, and it's not realistically.
Yeah, it's
go to
what you believe you're
5.
worth.
5.
5 million?
500.
$500,000 coming into your bank account in 10 years, consistently every year.
Profit.
Profit. Okay, cool. So $500,000. Okay, how much do you want to have in savings consistently in your bank account?
Probably 100K a year.
Okay, cool. So 100K, anytime you look at your bank account, there should be at least 100K sitting there. Wonderful. So now you have an idea of, okay, well, what type of habits do I need to accrue in order to consistently have that amount? And when I have more than that amount, what do I need to invest in to make it so that I'm more likely to get to that 500,000 and above it?
Right.
Right? And I would actually challenge you. I would make that 500,000 is good. You got to think a little bit bigger. Because 500,000 to you is the clouds, right? Landing on a cloud. But in order to land on a cloud, you need to set a goal that's to the stars.
Right.
It necessarily forces you to become that person that is more capable of landing on the clouds. So always have bigger goals than what you think you can achieve. Okay?
Right.
So that's a 10-year goal, right? And now, based on this stuff, I can deduce that you need to accrue some leadership skills, right? You want to accrue an environment in which you are more likely to become that person. So having decking out your social media, reading the right books, doing talking to the right people, to think the correct way. I know that you, to some degree, value family, and that you want to have that, and you want to go to church, and you want to be kind of this spiritual human being, which is very, very important for all of the things that you will be doing regardless.
Emotional intelligence.
The emotional intelligence aspect of life, right? Making sure that you have the time on Sundays to go to church, that you have the time in the morning to wake up and appreciate the sunrise, that you have the time to sit at night and maybe read a book or just to look back at life and appreciate that, right? So these are all things that are like, okay, well, where am I now and where do I want to be? And so then we break that down into 5-year, 3-year, and 1-year goals, and we go backwards and do that, okay? I'm not going to go through the whole process with you because the beneficial part of this is that actually writing this stuff down and then consistently having your mentors keep you accountable on these goals so that your execution skills are actually working towards getting closer to being that person. That's literally that's the only way to evolve efficiently in life, because it's almost like an art, right? How do I know if I'm getting better at painting? It's hard to tell unless I have a mentor that's a painter that's making paintings that are similar to mine, and I'm like, okay, I want to make stuff like yours. Okay, is this a little bit closer, right? So it's the law of picture, John Maxwell's law of picture. You as a leader need to not only have a clear picture of where you want to be in life, but also a clear picture for other people to hone into and be like, okay, these are the steps that need to be taken in order to get there. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, so in terms of what you'll have to do daily in order to get closer to that, what are some things that you'll have to do daily in your belief in order to get to that 10-year version of Spencer?
Change my routine.
How so?
Change the way that I use my time. The way that I use my time to, instead of watching, YouTube video, I should be watching Bitcoin video or crypto video or, how to...
Or a Dan Martell or a PBD video talking about business. I always like to pitch, people that are doing it better than me, right? So the Bitcoin, right, never came into the equation.
No, right.
And yet you think that doing that daily is somehow going to get you closer to that goal. So there's a lack of alignment there, right? So I'll challenge you again. What do you have to do daily in order to become a CEO or a CFO of a company?
Invest into research.
In what sense?
Business conferences.
Okay, so a percentage of your income should be dedicated towards getting the tickets and the traveling and the living expenses to go to these conferences.
Define contracts.
Define contracts. Can you elaborate on that?
If I find contracts at these meetings, it expands my networking. And when I expand my networking, that's how it's going to provide me becoming a CEO or CFO, because they are CEOs and CFOs out to these meetings and they are doing the best. I wouldn't say the best, but they're doing so well that they're out there. So if I'm going out there and reaching out to them, and for an example, a colleague of mine, he went out to one of these conferences and met, two gentlemen that he was that were interested inside of his business, and he decided to build his business, go to school, which that's what I'm doing as we speak, and he's kind of a role model. So I kind of do exactly I follow up behind him. So what I do is, if I were to go to these conferences, I network to build these relationships, get educated, learn.
Slow
things.
down. So what you're saying is not necessarily what you can accomplish daily. Yeah, because here's the thing, right? What you're thinking about now is what your daily actions could lead to, maybe once a quarter.
Right.
Is going to a networking event. Okay? So what daily actions do you need to take in order to set yourself up to be able to go to a networking event and actually be useful? That's what I'm asking you.
Okay.
Break it down into literally
Daily.
Tomorrow.
What am I doing?
What am I doing in order to be one step closer? Because I think, and it's a common misconception.
No, right.
And it's something that we're not used to doing as human beings. We're really not. We're not even taught to do this thing. But in order to break it down, we really need to be thinking about now what is realistic? What is a smart goal?